Hi, welcome to my hobby shop. These are some miniature engines that I've built over the years in my retirement years. I thought I'd just make a little video here to show you what I've done and what I have been doing. I'll go up here and try to describe some of these engines briefly. Up here on the top shelf are a couple of pretty simple engines. This one here is a model of a typical what they call hit and miss engine that was used on the farms of years ago. This is kind of a novelty sort of an engine, model of a real one that was built in the early part of the 1900s or late 1800s, I'm not sure, but it's some British guy designed it. It was called an Atkinson cycle, kind of a interesting thing to see in operation, which I won't do today. But anyway, all these engines run, by the way. Over here is a first really quite sophisticated engine that I built. It's a actual model of a 5-cylinder radial aircraft engine that was built in the 1930s, and it's called a Kinnear K5. It was quite an interesting engine to build, and it runs quite well. This model here is a V8 automotive type engine, liquid cooled, one that I kind of designed as I went along, kind of a cut and fit sort of a thing. But it was a fun project. It runs quite well. It was quite a challenge to try to design this thing as you go along. I made a lot of scrap parts in the process, but that's another story in itself. This engine here is a model of an aircraft engine, 4-cylinder inline air-cooled, as you can see. It was used in the 20s and perhaps early 30s. But kind of a fun thing to build. Runs quite well, by the way. This engine up here is a model of a British motorcycle engine. It's quite unique in that it is called a rotary valve engine. Rotary sleeve valve, I should say. Too complicated to really try to explain here, but it was interesting to build and quite a challenge, particularly the operation of this rotary sleeve mechanism. And it runs quite well also. This engine here is, I guess you might say, my pride and joy. It's a 14-cylinder radial, not designed after a particular engine, but it's typical of a good many that were built before and during the Second World War. The old C-47 has an engine similar to this. The latest engine that I've built, I have on the workbench over here, is bolted down, and I'm going to try to start it up and demonstrate the operation here. I'll pan around. Here's my Model T Ford that's all covered up. Can't see a great deal, but going over here, I'll just swing by here and kind of show you my shop. We're looking at a Bridgeport milling machine. Here's the backside of my 12 by 36 lathe. And then over here on this bench, I have a motorcycle, what I call a motorcycle engine. It's patterned patterned pretty much after a Harley Davidson. It's my own design. The only thing that really you can really say that it's connected to a Harley Davidson is that it's a 2-cylinder and it's a V type engine, and it's about 45 degrees between the cylinders. Now I'm going to set this camera up on the tripod and see if I can get that thing running. We'll add a little noise to this video. So I'll be back in a minute. Okay, I got the camera set up on the tripod there, and I'll point out a couple of things. Here's the fuel tank and the oil tank, and the carburetor. There's 2 oil pumps in this engine. This is the pressure pump, and then there's a scavenge pump inside this housing that pulls the oil back out of the crankcase and into the oil tank. And then over here, which you can't see, is a oil pressure gauge. Now if we get this thing going, it'll be fairly noisy, but let's see what happens here. Oh, I forgot to, I gotta hook up my battery charger in order to get the ignition to work. Hook that up, I'll go over here and plug this in. Okay, now let's see if we can get this thing going. Oh, by the way, I'm using a drill motor to crank this engine. That's a whole lot easier than putting a pull rope on it or something of that sort. That's it. This engine will get quite warm if I don't put a cooling fan on it. And as you can see, I don't have a cooling fan now, so just as well that we shut it off. I'll walk around this side of my, I showed you the back side of the lathe and my milling machine. a moment ago. This is kind of jerky, I know, but here's the front side of my lathe. And then my Bridgeport milling machine. Let me see if I can back out here. Get a kind of an overall view of it. This milling machine is it's about 50 years old, 45, 50 years old, but it's in very good condition, and you can't do without it in this kind of activity that I'm doing. Well, I guess with that I'll shut this thing off, back to my Model T there for a moment, and my display up here. Give you a quick look at that again. As I said before, this 14 here is my pride and joy. See you later.